All right, welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ewell, and today we're going to be talking about consistency doesn't care about time.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Now, sit back and relax. Today's episode is going to be it's going to hit home for you because I had several clients last week talk to me about this very thing I'm about to talk to you guys about today. And I think it's really going to hit home for you when it comes to your habits, when it comes to consistency, and it comes to stories around what you're doing. So as I get into today's show, you know, one thing that I often hear people talk about is, you know, how do I be more consistent? How do I develop, habits? How do I develop this thing called consistency in my day-to-day routine, in my day-to-day life? And I always come back to, well, what are you trying to be consistent for? Why are you struggling with consistency? And a lot of times it's because people have a story in their mind that, if they don't do a certain amount of work, if they don't do a certain amount of time, then they don't count that as work. They don't count that as doing something. So, this is a conversation I had last week. It was with someone who said, like, hey, man, I didn't work out today. I just didn't have 45 minutes to get it done. And I said, let me ask you this, man. How often do you work out for 45 minutes? And they said, well, I try to do it every day, but, usually I only make it like 3 to 4 other days of the week. And I said, well, what do you do the rest of the time when you don't do that 45 minutes? They said, well, I just don't do anything, and I just kind of go on about my day. And I said, hey, how long have you been doing that? And they said, oh, I've been doing that for probably the last year. And I said, so basically your idea of a workout is 45 minutes. And if you don't do it, if you don't do it for 45 or you don't even do anything, you can't do the 45. You just don't do it. Is that correct? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, let me ask you this. Who told you that consistency cared about time and duration? They said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, who told you that the only workout was for 45 minutes, or you couldn't do it for 20, you couldn't do it for 25? He said, oh, I just kind of made that up on my own. And I said, well, consistency doesn't care about time and it doesn't care about duration. It only cares about, the thing that you're doing. So if it is working out, the great thing about consistency is it doesn't care if you do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes. It just cares about you consistently do it. And I said, here's the other thing, man. If you're only qualifying a 45-minute workout as a workout, then you may need to increase the intensity in what you're doing to just get a little bit more out of it. So my goal would be to be like, hey, let me show you a 15 or 20-minute workout that would actually work you out as hard as you did for that 45 minutes. And so rather than always increasing time and duration, we're actually going to increase intensity and get more out of the time that we're actually doing. So as we kind of sat there for a minute, he's like, wow, man, I never really thought about consistency in that way. And what's crazy is your body doesn't know the difference between consistency at 45 minutes, 25 minutes, or 20 minutes. But at the end of the day, what really matters is like what's changing in my consistency. So if I'm inconsistent with workouts, say over 30 days, chances are my results are going to be very inconsistent. If I'm consistent with working out, whether it be for 45 or 25 minutes, at the end of that 30 days, I'm going to be able to measure the results. I'm going to be able to measure the outcome to tell how effective that consistency is. So no different than, hey, if you worked out for 5 minutes for 30 days straight each day, at the end of that 30 days, you're going to measure everything based off the results of that consistency. So What I'm saying is this: consistency only cares about you doing something, repeatedly over and over. And then at the end of that time frame, you're going to measure by your results. And if you like the results, great. Your consistency is right on point. If you don't like the results, then you can always increase the intensity. The one thing that I see people make a mistake on is they increase their time and duration versus increasing their intensity. When it comes down to it, intensity is more important than time and duration. So if I want to see results, and you know what, I don't know if you're listening to this, maybe you're a fitness professional, maybe you're not, but this was always the thing that when I was a fitness professional, there was a lot of, we called them variables, and variables were things that we could shift in an exercise to dictate whether or not we could make that simple exercise harder. So think of like push-ups, right? We can either do more push-ups, we could do push-ups slower and do the same amount, or we could do pause repetitions, or we could add weight, or we could add some type of external stress, whether that be somebody maybe pushing on you, whether that be somebody, doing a cadence. You go down. When I tell you down, you hold it. And then, so it's like that cadence is adding a different element of stress. So understand this, that when it comes to consistency of a habit, we don't always have to automatically add duration. We don't always have to automatically add time. We can add, all of these other elements first. We could add stress. We could add intensity. We could add all these other variables before we actually added time to, just slightly shift up the results. Remember, this is let's say my workout was 20 minutes for, 30 days. I was going to do 30 minutes, and I was going to run, however long it took me. I was going to run 30 minutes, period. Now, here's the things I could do is I ran that 30 minutes every single day. Do you think that 30 minutes would be easier at the end of 30 days? Of course it would. But if I made some slight adjustments and increased some variables, whether that was sprinting, off and on, or maybe it was speed walking, or maybe it was like running as fast as I could until I couldn't anymore, then walking. All those little variables are adjusting the intensity of that 30 minutes, and that's going to give me a different result at the end of that 30 days. And so versus doing the same speed, same time, every single day over the next 30 days, yes, I'm definitely going to get faster, but chances are the results that I'm going to get at the end of the 30 days, they're not going to change a whole lot. But as I begin to tweak variables, then it is going to change. And that's what I want you to understand is there's variables that you can always change in your habits. There's variables that we can increase in intensity, and I can get a different result out of it. It doesn't always have to be about time. Doesn't always have to be about duration. What matters is that you're consistently doing something and you're starting to look for ways you can add different variables to this. So if we're looking at, any type of habit you're doing, I get it, to think working out for 45 minutes is the best quality workout. What I will say is this: I have 3 different types of habits that I would do around a workout. Number 1 would be kind of an ideal workout. So every single week I set up 3 different workouts based off of having the ideal time. So that's kind of like, hey, my ideal situation would be that I would work out for 45 to 50 minutes. Okay. And I'm going to tell you guys this: out of 7 days in a week, typically I only hit that about 3 days. Now, I have another day where it's 30 minutes. It's just a scaled back version of that 45, but I'm still trying to fit in the exact same amount of work just in 30 minutes. And then I have another one that's right around 20 minutes. Now, why would I have 3 different variables at 45, 30, and 20 is because you're not always going to have the opportunity to hit all of those workouts perfectly. So I find having those different style variables throughout the week, gives me the ability to stay consistent. It also gives me the ability to make adjustments if I need to, if I have stuff going on. Maybe I'm super busy that day, or maybe I'm super sore. I remember last week I was super sore in a workout, and I was like, dang, I'm just going to go for a 30-minute walk. I'm going to put a vest on, and I'm going to go out and do that. Now, that ended up being kind of like a recovery day, but I didn't not count it because I didn't do that 45-minute workout. So sometimes you got to listen to your body, and I'm not saying, you know, the bitch body where it's like, dude, I just don't want to work out. I'm saying the body of like, hey, what's best for my body today? Is it to go for a walk? I believe that every single day we should be doing some type of movement, whether that be walking, you know, whether that be running, or whether that be working out in the gym, or maybe stretching and doing mobility work. I still think movement needs to be something happening every single day. So when you look at your routine, doesn't matter, you know, we should have 3 different routines. We have an A, we have a B, we have a C. A is the ideal routine. That one usually takes me about 2.5 hours. I have a kind of a middle one that usually takes me about 1 hour and 45. And then I kind of have that condensed hour, and that gets me down to 60 minutes. So whatever I have going on that day, I kind of decide, hey, I got an ideal day going on today. Let's make it happen. Or I have plan B, or I have plan C, but I'm never going in the day without having one of those plans ready to go. So again, I want to recap this. Number one thing is consistency doesn't matter about time. It doesn't matter about duration. It only cares about the consistency of you showing up. If you feel like you need more time, shift the intensity and try to get more done in that same amount of time. And then the last thing is look for opportunities to where you can increase variables in your habits to get that slight shift and slight change in them, because having those variables allows you to begin to get a different result. So guys, if you want to be part of our Facebook tribe, Habit-Based Lifestyle and Business Secrets, just simply go in the show notes, click the link. If you want to be part of our community, we'd love to have you. If you have any questions for me about topics, or, you know, maybe you want to be interviewed on our show, email me, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. Also, follow me on Facebook or Instagram, Jesse, JESSE.EWELL. Would love to meet you. Send me a DM, whatever that is. You guys have a great week.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.